Hi, I'm Eric Mieni and this is Breaking New Ground. The apartheid government built rows and rows of units and rented them out to black people to live in. These units were either council houses or flats. A key challenge for our government today is to turn these townships with their council flats and houses into a positive force for good. One of the very first steps in this process is to transfer the ownership of these houses and flats into the very hands of those people who are renting them now. This is called the transfer of stock. To date, about 500,000 homes have been transferred around the country, and it is one way to integrate marginalized communities into the main economy. With a home you own, for example, you can access funds to improve your life using the house as collateral. Here in Kwadakuza, they seem to be doing it just right. The Dolphin Coast is a rapidly developing region. For the poorer communities who have been living in dire conditions for most of their lives here, the area's appeal to the tourist market and the creation of new infrastructure and industry augurs well for their own progress. Home to the legendary ANC leader Albert Luthuli, Stenga Kwadakuza resonates with the man's progressive ideology and creative energy.
I'm Dolly Rayman, living in this town for plus minus 30 years. Worked in a paper industry in Stanger and then moved on to a retail store in Stanger for 20 years. When I first moved into this town, it was a small business, small town with very few people. But as the years went by, this town grew, people grew, and the businesses grew very well. Now we are a booming town.
Having developed strong ties within the community, Dolly is determined to spend the rest of her days here. Her future lies in benefiting from all that the region has to offer in this new guise.
State-owned housing in South Africa emanates essentially from housing that was delivered in terms of the old dispensation. Essentially, you're talking about housing that was delivered via the House of Representatives, the House of Delegates, housing that was provided by the old TBVC states, all of those 293 towns, etc. Essentially, that's the type of housing we're looking at.
I moved into these council flats in the early 80s. And there was no trees, barely much neighbors we had here. And then the condition was very, very bad. We had no yard. The water pipes were overflowing, and we had to work from there. This is the original flat that we had, and we moved into it. It was small. It consists of 2 bedrooms, a small lounge, a small kitchen, and toilet and bathroom in one. And we really appreciate it because it was a roof over our head. Living in this place for so many years hasn't been that good, but having all my neighbors around me and having a strong relationship has been very, very exciting. And our children all grew up together in this town, so we have a strong root here.
The Housing Act actually requires that the Minister of Housing actually phases out subsidized housing in terms of the old dispensation. So what we've done is that we've put together a policy that actually starts to assist us to phase out the old housing stock, and where beneficiaries can derive the benefit of current subsidization to ensure that the housing becomes their own, so they get full title of the housing. In addition to that, we want to make sure that the beneficiaries are able to take responsibility for the houses that we now can transfer into their names.
In the early 90s, I discovered that this flat was going on sale. So I was very proud of buying one. And since there was a discount given to me, I was more excited. And to qualify for the discount, I had to live in the flat for a few years. And thereafter, I could purchase it with no arrears in my account. I was very excited when I knew I was going to buy my home, and I wanted to make my kitchen bigger because I love cooking and I needed more space in my kitchen, and that made me very, very exciting.
The discount benefit scheme was essentially a discount of around 7,500 that enabled beneficiaries who lived in state-owned housing to be able to get assistance with transfer. But we have subsequently enhanced the program, and we now enable beneficiaries to derive up to the benefit of the full prevailing subsidy, which currently is in the region of about 39,000 rand. Essentially, when transfer takes place, beneficiaries need to go to a local authority or to the provincial housing department and make the application. It's really not a difficult process from the perspective of the beneficiary. The calculations on what is outstanding and what arrears there might be or what payments still need to be made are calculated, and they're also discussed with the beneficiary so that the beneficiary starts to understand. We try really hard to ensure that the benefit of transfer occurs and that the beneficiary is not disadvantaged, because as government we're saying we really need to transfer stock. Beneficiaries need to be able to enjoy the benefits of transfer and of ownership.
Chief Albert Luthuli is considered one of the greatest African leaders of his time. This was internationally recognized when he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1960. This ANC president was a great thinker and a champion of the oppressed people of South Africa. Sadly, he passed away in 1967. But his home in Kwadakuza reminds us of what he stood for and what we should strive for as a nation. We've come here to the Albert Luthuli Museum to talk about the transfer of housing stock, the challenges that come with this, how we can overcome them, and how this can affect you. With me here today are Rashina Singh, who is the Deputy Director in the Finance Department of the Kwadakuza Municipality. We have Mtu Zungu, who is the Municipal Manager of Kwadakuza Municipality. And of course, you've seen Dolly Abdul Rahman. We also have an old friend, Musa Mfusi, who is the Manager of Property Management here in KwaZulu-Natal. What do we mean by the transfer of housing stock?
We basically mean the transfer of ownership from government to individuals.
Okay. Now, what's the policy behind it? Why is government doing this?
Basically, the background is we had different administrations in the past, which were all racially based. But the government is trying to assist people to have private home ownership. That's why then the policy was actually designed to enable people to become full owners of these properties instead of renting or continuing to have debts as in terms of the previous agreements that they had with the different administrations.
Debts? What kind of debts?
In some instances, people had loans from the different administrations. In other instances, it was rental. They had lease agreements and they were paying rent. So all that has been consolidated together because all those housing typologies, they qualify in terms of the new policy now for people to be assisted to become owners of these properties.
Now, Rashina, what are the financial implications of this policy for government?
Government has actually gotten a formula for the calculation of write-offs and discounts based on income. And there could be a write-off of about 38,000 Rand. This was based on 2007 figures, based on income of 3,500 Rand and less. So when one is to look at it, we're looking at historic values being the settlement figures, not what the current prices of the homes are, which would be in the range of about 100,000 to 130,000 Rand.
Let me get this right. When you are saying that the government, depending on level of income, is writing off a certain amount, say 38,000 Rand, what you mean is they are saying we won't sell this, we won't be paid for this, we'll give it to somebody.
Yes, we will.
So the 38,000 Rand is the gift to the homeowner, the new homeowner.
Yes.
But
it's not funds that we would receive,
right.
Not funds that the municipality or provincial or national government will receive, no.
And actually you're giving whatever the value is now. You're looking at it at historical value, but you're giving away 100,000 Rand house.
Yes, really, that's exactly what it is.
Wow, since you're here, I mean, what's the change?
Well, I'm very proud to be a homeowner and have a lot of responsibilities. Make sure that my taxes and rates are paid to the municipality and also to the body corporate.
So there's a definite, would you call it a financial improvement from renting the house to actually owning it?
Oh yes, definitely, most definitely.
Yeah. Musa, I mean, what would you say to somebody skeptical who would say, you know, apartheid built houses, quite bad, rows and rows, whatever. The government's trying to get rid of them, you know, so give them away to the poor.
What the government is doing is saying, I'm giving this ownership to you, this property is now yours, and you can actually do quite a number of things. As you may be aware, I mean, many people are poor. Many people cannot actually provide any collateral security, even in instances where they want to raise funding for their various needs. So this policy equips people to be able to own assets that they can use as collateral.
It might be an apartheid-built house, but it's still a house.
In fact, some people have actually changed most of these houses. They've improved on them, and they've got even more bigger value now. Yes.
Mtu, how do you do this? What are the actual steps of getting this done?
In our case, working through the mayoral imbizos, which were organized in various communities across Kwadakuza, like in your townships, your former black townships, your former Indian townships, we needed to have those mayoral imbizos together with those beneficiaries, taking them through exactly the steps that are there in terms of this extended discount benefit scheme, explaining what needed to be done in terms of having to conduct proper evaluations of those homes, checking the defects, looking for whatever that has happened in the last 20 years as we're coming in 2000. So in a way, we're also trying to say, this is stock that is here in our face. We need to do something with it. Because in some cases, what we'll get is that some people had already subletted these homes. And this used to be quite a difficult issue because maybe someone is already qualified to move to a bonded house. But now is a landlord of some kind, to a beneficiary who's now sitting with us in that, who has been looking after that rental stock.
So somebody was taking a house that belonged to government and using as their own.
You know, and in these cases, when we go straight to the communities...
So quickly, for me, so if I had been looking after this house for 30 years and I sublet it for 6 months, I lose it?
Yeah, definitely, because for us, we are saying the person that, it means this is the right person that needs
a house.
It needs to benefit, definitely. So in that way, even our council policies and the provincial department, that's why in our steering committees that we established and the technical teams that were to go out in terms of building inspectors and the likes, all those reports when they come back needed to be verified and be looked into very thoroughly.
To add to that, Eric, what we have had in addition to subletting as an issue, we've had units where the tenants have passed on and their children or common law wives living in the flats, but that hasn't been formalized from a legal point of view. So that also needs to come out strongly at our meetings where they need to visit our estates department and our legal department to formalize that.
Okay, so these are some of the challenges that come with it. And you think discussing it openly with the community is one of the best ways to go about it. Is this rolling out nationally? Do you know, Musa?
Yes, it is a national program, and in all provinces they are implementing the EEDBS. And in KwaZulu-Natal, if I could just give you a picture, Eric, when we started, we were looking at properties at about 215,000 by numbers. And I think at the moment we have done almost more than half of that. We are remaining with less than 90,000 properties that we still need to transfer.
Rashina, so I'm living in a government-rented house from pre-94. How do I go about getting into this program, owning it? Do I wait for municipal government to come to me? Do I apply? How do I qualify?
One would have to be, if it's a tenant, obviously have entered into a lease agreement with the municipality, definitely in terms of the policy, and obviously to be fair, that tenant should not be owning any other property at all. And by this time, at the implementation phase, we would have had our mayoral imbizos. We would have definitely educated the community about the discount benefit scheme. So, and at the meetings, we do encourage them to visit our offices. We give them the names of the contact people.
So as a step-by-step process, I go to my local municipality. I tell them, hey, I've been renting this house. I believe there's a policy for me to own it. Put me on the program.
Yes, but we would need to know the income, because the basis of allocating a discount or writing off is their income.
Okay, so give me all the qualifications. I have to be a South African citizen.
South African citizen, the legal tenant of the property. There must be an income form completed together with proof of income. Very important is the rates and services that must be paid up as well.
Okay.
Right? So if there is an amount outstanding, we would definitely refer them to our credit control department, where they would need to be an arrangement entered into.
For the poor in post-apartheid South Africa, do you think that's...
Well, I think in each case is looked at on its merit. But again, I think, Eric, what I want to say is that the policy also provides for the indigent. There are many cases, almost, I mean, for the aged, for the disabled, all those people, ultimately, they get subsidized, full subsidy. So it does really help them in that it does not discriminate in terms of your situation or your economic situation, but it actually helps even those people to actually become owners.
Thanks for watching Breaking New Ground. When we come back, we'll look at the property boom around Kwadakuza and how the municipality here is making this work, especially for those in council houses. Stay with us.
Provincial housing departments and municipalities are the entities that really assist with transferring ownership from the state to the beneficiary. They also undertake to sit with the beneficiaries, and they are able to explain what the beneficiaries' roles and responsibilities are with regards to ownership. In addition to that, we've actually found that in those instances where transfer went from the state in, for example, a high-rise flat, that a body corporate was formed. And as far as that's concerned, there was interaction between the municipality and the residents, and they were assisted into how to form body corporates.
Once I became a homeowner, I had to be very responsible because there was rates to be taken care of, and also I had to become the chairperson of my area. So I had to do the garden, cleaning of the grass, planting of the flowers, and make the place look nice, and also taking care of the property. The body corporate is there to always help us. If we need any things to be done in the area, the body corporate has a meeting with us. We discuss what has to be done, and we do the painting, or we have to keep the place neat. We get into the budget plan and we sort the problem out with the body corporate. Come, let's go. Come. Come, Pikachu. After I purchased my flat, I was very excited and I needed to do some changes. First thing I decided was to plant some flowers and trees and make the place look beautiful. Then I went into the house and I did an extension of a dining room, an extra bedroom, and an en-suite. And I opened a back door at the kitchen so I could have breathing space, and I enjoyed myself after that. The extension was actually done by me and my husband. My husband used to lay the bricks and I used to pass the bricks. And having the eldest son, 36, all of my children, the whole 3 of them, grew up in this home. So this is my palace. The children want to move me out from here to the beaches and here and there, but I won't change my mind. I will live here because this is my palace.
Essentially, in these transfers, people get the benefit of full title and all those wonderful things that, as a Department of Housing, we actually would like people to have. It's privacy and safety and all those things, and also it's the economic asset that we believe that people must have.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching Breaking New Ground. Kwadakuza is in the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal, where luxury beachfront property developments have sprung up, property prices have shot through the roof, and where it would normally only benefit the rich, here in this municipality, they're trying to make it work for everyone. Now, Rashina, give me an idea of the property boom around this area.
The property prices can range from anything up for about 2 million to 6 million rand. And obviously you would get those that are over 6 million rand as well. We've also boasted about 3 golf estates as well. So really, and this is attributed to the boom, as you've mentioned, in property development in the last 5 to 6 years in the coastal area.
Now, is this, I mean, spilling over to the township areas?
You'll see that obviously for former black townships, the house units now will cost about 120,000, the value of it. And these were the ones that we transferred at a historical cost during that time. So this person now is sitting with quite a wealth kind of property when you look into that issue. But currently, as long as we keep the places clean in terms of refuse, which is free, grass cutting and the likes, and it has also assisted them in terms of home ownership and that self-esteem that goes with it.
Yeah, so you'd say government policy is directly responsible for this property boom, or rather for the spillover effect of the property boom to the township, or do you think it's accidental, market-driven?
Yes, it is partly market-driven, but again, in terms of policy, the people who did not own these properties in the past, they are now part of the mainstream property market, and as a result, they are also enjoying the same benefits of the property boom. Some creative people have actually used their assets to augment their position in terms of participating meaningfully in the economic activity in the area. Some of the people who may have been in those townships, they've actually acquired some wealth using their properties as the springboard, which supports their economic development.
So the policies, you get a leg up. Is that how you put it?
Definitely, definitely. We have seen it even in our various programs that we have even on infrastructure and services that we have, where people have been able to go to the banks, get some loans, and obviously getting to some of the small businesses. So when we go out into communities, we introduce quite a various number of opportunities that are around in our area.
So Dolly, now that you own the house, what does the future hold?
Well, my house is my pride and joy, and I will not change it for any money. I will make sure that I'll stay in it until I die, because I really love my home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So tell me, when do you see yourself finishing this program here in the municipality, this transferal of stock?
Eric, our intention is to complete all transfers of properties in KwaZulu-Natal by the end of 2009. We are working very hard with the municipalities throughout the province, and we are collaborating to try and achieve this goal. We must remember that government programs, they are supportive of each other. So we must finish with the old housing stock because we need to start accelerating social housing as well as the community residential units, which is the area that we want to focus on going forward now.
Okay. Well, Dolly, siyabonga.
Ngiyabonga futhi nami bhuti.
If you are renting a government house that was built in apartheid South Africa and you'd like to own it, contact your local municipality and they'll show you how you can do that. Thank you so much for watching Breaking New Ground. Join us again next week as we look at housing in South Africa and how the policies around it affect you.